Okay, I'm back and we're gonna just keep running through these. So I'm on page 222. I'm kind of like in the middle-ish. You can see I'm on D. So let's keep going. So same idea. So nothing new. So I always go through this logical progression in my head of z equals -6 would be parallel to z equals 0, z equals 0 is the xy plane. So that's just so I can picture it, right? Like I want to think like what wall is it parallel to or floor, and where do I go from there? Um, so z equals -6. I have no choice about that. I want a hyperbola. I like to parameterize my hyperbolas with secant and tangent. You might be one of those cosecant cotangent type people. Whatever, live your life. We're both going to get it. So x equals y equals z equals. Is this point thick? I feel like I go through this in every video. I feel like it is like a little too much, or more than I want it to be. Or really what I want is like less responsiveness. It's like I have this fancy stylus and I want it to just be a little dumber. All right, so z equals -6. No choice, gonna be that. And now I just need a hyperbola. So it could be any hyperbola. So I'm gonna go with like 2 plus 3 secant theta or t, and then 1 plus 4 tangent of theta or t. So I'm using theta as my parameter here. I don't remember what I use in the other ones. Yeah, I mostly use t, it looks like. You could use whatever you want as long as it's not x, y, or z. So that's going to work for us. All right. So that's a hyperbola. It's kind of like eating the x-axis is how I think of it, because secant comes first, and secant goes with secant squared minus tan squared is equal to 1, and so on. So you should be plotting these in GeoGebra to see if they're right and playing around with things. Hopefully you're doing that. I have no way of knowing. X equals -4. So x equals -4. In my brain, I'm like, okay, so x equals 0 is parallel to that. X equals 0 is the yz plane. So the YZ plane is the plane that's kind of like to your right. If you are standing in a room staring at a corner and that corner is the origin. So let's do this. So I have it go the other way or a different way. So x equals -4, no choice. Y equals something, z equals something. So I'm going to say, well, obviously it's going to go the other way or some other way because x is a constant this time. So it doesn't really matter what I do. I am, however, going to, whoa, holy cow. I just like paged up or something. Just randomly hit that. Okay, hopefully that doesn't happen again. All right, let's say, whew, did it again. Isn't that weird? I went so many videos without ever accidentally doing that. Now I've done it twice in a row. Kind of really feel like that wasn't there before. Where even am I? Okay, here we go. All right, let's make sure that doesn't keep happening at least. All right, so I'm gonna say 3 plus 2 secant of, I'm gonna go back to t, and then 4 minus y minus, I don't know, why not? Doesn't matter, right? Because you subtract the 4, you divide by whatever, you square it, so that minus isn't gonna make a difference to the path that we get. The way you go along the path will be different, but we're not really gonna look at that. I'm gonna say 3 and then tangent of t. I could have said 2t for both of them, t over 8 for both of them. As long as I'm consistent, it'll work. So we get that. And let's see if we can do this one. So y equals -17. So that's going to be parallel to y equals 0. Y equals 0. There's no y, so it'll be xz. And then I want a parabola. Parabolas are actually the easiest one to parameterize because it's kind of like the weirdest one. So what I'm going to do, set x equals, so y is -17, z equals. I'm gonna let y be the independent variable, and then z will be the dependent variable. So, or sorry, I'm gonna let x be the independent variable, which is like kind of the normal thing to do. So I'm gonna say that x is just t and z is t squared. You know, get as interesting as you want with that. And then for all of these, I'm basically saying t is an element of the reals. If you want to limit it, you can. generally speaking, like if no other thing is given, you kind of assume that it's an element of the reals, or maybe at the top you just say like, assume it's an element of the reals. I wonder if it looks better, bigger, because I keep forgetting that like maybe you'll print these or something. Also, what is the difference? I don't know. I have a lot of options, so I just switched it up. I might go back. We'll see. Let's take care of this problem. All right, so not all planes are going to be parallel to the coordinate planes, right? Like the world isn't just made up of vertical walls and then floors and ceilings. There's other stuff that we can do, like what am I thinking of? You could build like a lean-to, I guess, right? So, or like little kids will like build a tent in a corner and they'll just basically take a sheet and just like hang it and then like pull it down. So that's what we're going to kind of do here. So we have the plane 3x plus 4y plus 6z equals 24. The way that I'm going to plot this is I'm going to look at the intercepts. So I'm going to look at the x-intercept, the y-intercept, the z-intercept. So think in 2 dimensions, right? In 2D, the x-intercept would just be y equals 0 and then whatever you get, right? And then the y-intercept would just be x equals 0 and whatever you get. I already like this better. Let me see if I make this a little smaller. I feel like this would be the ideal thing that I was like dreaming of when I was writing before. Okay. 3 dimensions is the same deal. It's just going to have another thing be 0, right? So in 3D, if I want the x-intercept, I need y to be equal to 0 and z to be equal to 0. So y equals 0, z equals 0, and then whatever you get. So let's see if we can do this. So for my x-intercept, I'm going to let y be 0. I'm going to let z be 0. And then remember, this is my equation. So if y is equal to 0 and z is equal to 0, then I just get 3x equals 24. So x is 8. And then the y-intercept, everything that's not y should be 0. So it would be 0, something, 0. If x is 0 and z is 0, then I get 4y equals 24. So I just get 6. If I want the z-intercept, I know that everything except z will be 0. X is 0, y is 0. My equation then becomes 6z equals 24. Divide by 6, I get 4. All right, so how does this help us? Well, I have 800, I have 060, and 004. Here's what we're going to do. On the x-axis, I'm just going to make a tick mark and say that it is at 8. All right, so this is x, this is z, and then this is y. On the y-axis, I'm going to make a tick mark and say that it's 6. Fun fact, in these notes, I forgot to turn this image into grayscale. So the origin for, I think, all of my 3D coordinate systems is blue. So if you're printing your notes, it's going to come out blue. And I sort of apologize for that, but also I've just been changing the color of the ink that I'm using. So like, it's going to be pretty colorful. Maybe I haven't done that in these notes. I definitely did that a lot in the last set of notes, and maybe now I'll start. So on the z-axis, tick mark at 4. All right, and then what do? Well, then we just kind of go for it, right? So I know that I'm going to connect these. I'm going to connect these. I'm going to connect these. So this is our plane. And then we just kind of like act as if we know that that's a plane. I've never found this very compelling, but it's definitely a thing that you do. If you look at it, you can see that you've got a really interesting figure there. It's called a tetrahedron. It has 4 faces. There's the face that's in the XY plane, the face that's in the XZ plane, a face in the YZ plane, and then there's a face that is in the plane, whatever this thing was, 3x plus 4y plus 6z equals 24. Also sort of interesting, I'm sorry, I'm like zooming back and forth here. If you just let z equal 0, this equation will become 3x plus 4y equals 24. So if we go back over here, I'm going to get this line is 3x plus 4y equals 24. Okay, so that's in the xy plane. What if we just let y equals 0? Then it becomes 3x plus 6z equals 24. If I go over here, that means that this line is 3. What did I make 0? Apologies. I think I made y 0. Did I make y 0? Yeah. 3x plus 6z equals 24. Ugh. Someday I'll be good at this. So 3x plus 6z equals 24. If I let just x equals 0, I will get 4y plus 6z equals 24. Just really interesting. I can find equations of these lines, and that's going to be useful because eventually we want to actually do that. So this, I'm going to stop here. I will come back with more in the next video. I hope you are finding these helpful. And stop.